My favorite part working in the lab is the moments results come out to be unexpected.
Science is so unpredictable, and that is what draws you to it. You may think that biology is working in a certain way, and then you test that hypothesis. And then you realize, oh no, there's this complete other layer to it. And I think that's very exciting to be constantly surprised.
The courage to explore unknown makes a scientist extraordinary.
My name is Samuel Bakhoum. I'm a physician scientist, a radiation oncologist in the clinic, and a tumor biologist in the lab. What got me really interested in science was my father. Since a very young age, he's always kind of pushed us to really think about what is not known and how to really try and answer these questions. My work focuses on understanding a widespread phenomenon of cancer cells called chromosomal instability and understanding its role in cancer metastasis. Chromosomal instability describes a state where each time cancer cells divide, they make mistakes in how they distribute the DNA in the cell. The eureka moment, so to speak, is realizing that cancer cells view this as a viral infection. This really opens up a lot of new avenues to target cancer metastasis in a way that we didn't think about before. Recently, there's been a lot of advent of single-cell sequencing technology. And I think the next step, we will need to know how to process all this data and translate these findings into the clinic.
My name is Zhe Zhang. I'm from Shandong, China. I had not made my mind to take science as the path of my life until I came here to Rockefeller. The aim of my research is to cure a disease called cystic fibrosis. This disease is caused by the mutations of a protein called cystic fibrosis transmembrane conductance regulator. I use a technique called cryo-electron microscopy to determine the 3D structure of the CFTR protein. People have tried decades to get the structure of CFTR. When I got the structure for the first time, I really want to hurry up and get the paper prepared for publication. I don't want to get scooped. Determining the structure of CFTR is just a beginning. I hope probably in 5 or 10 years, there would be much more better and cheaper drugs to help the patients. And maybe someday we can cure this disease.
I'm Dr. Shruti Naik. I didn't always want to be a scientist growing up. I actually wanted to be a stand-up comic. There was a program about a prominent scientist, and I was completely enamored by her work. And I took a class in microbiology and was hooked. All of our body's tissues experience inflammation. We get sick, we get the flu, you get a rash, you get a sunburn, and these inflammatory reactions resolve. But what happens is they imprint the tissue with a memory. For a very long time, scientists thought that this memory was largely contained within cells of the immune system. And what I've discovered is that, in fact, there's other cell types in that tissue that can have a memory, and in particular, the stem cells of the tissue. What they do is they encode a memory of this inflammation into their DNA. And so they're poised after going through an inflammatory reaction to respond to a secondary stressor. Now we're in a really exciting time in science where we're bridging basic bench research and clinical research. And I think what needs to happen is that these two areas come together to examine inflammatory memory from a clinical setting, be it inflammatory disease, be it cancers, be it premature aging, and can we reverse our predisposition to some of these diseases?
Whenever work becomes a little too stressful or science doesn't really work, sometimes I like to take a step back and enjoy life outside of the lab, outside of research. And this is where music comes into play. I've played the piano since I was 4 years old, and I think it's been always a great way to relieve a lot of my stress and to really just enjoy life outside of science.
Every day I wake up in the morning, drop off my daughter in daycare. And then I came to the lab, work until like 6 p.m., pick up my daughter and playing with my daughter for like 2-3 hours, and then came back to the lab. Because of my daughter, I feel the life is much easier. I can just get out of science, do something else. It's the only relaxation way I have.
After work, I really like to sort of escape my reality. I live in New York City, and the art scene is fantastic. And so I very often go over to Lincoln Center and catch a show. It really helps me gain some perspective, particularly in times of failure, because you realize it's not the end of the world if your experiment failed, because there's a whole big world out there. And so I think taking a step back is always very, very important.
The award by the Blavatnik Family Foundation is a tremendous honor. It is very difficult as a young scientist to be able to break through the bubble and be recognized and be visible and be seen.
To get recognized by this Blavatnik Award, it means I'm really doing something that benefits the humanity.
I think promoting women in science is paramount, not just for gender equality, but also for science. I am just starting out my career, so an acknowledgement from such a prestigious award, it in some way validates many of my findings and my efforts. You know, working 14 hours in the lab, you never envision you're going to win an award for it. Really, your award is the discovery, but then this is sort of the cherry on top.